Pleased to be joined now by the Deputy Fire Marshal for West Bloomfield Township Fire Department, who are also our Facebook partners. Today, we're joined now by Deputy Fire Marshal Dave Deboer from the West Bloomfield Fire Department. Deputy Fire Marshal, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So this is supposed to be the last day of a week of consecutive days in our area above 90 degrees. How has the fire department been holding up and helping residents during this time? Have we seen more incidents pop up with the heat?
Thankfully, we haven't had a whole lot of incidents as far as 911 calls go. Our crews change the way they do things based on heat like this, and we want to make sure we keep our crews hydrated and keep fluids running through them, and maybe pull back on some of the outdoor stuff that we would normally be doing at this time to make sure we keep them hydrated. Because if they get a fire, once they put all that gear on and start to sweat, they're going to dehydrate very, very quickly. So it does change how we do things. It changes our uniform a little bit to keep the guys cool, but we're doing everything we can to stay cool.
As the weather does get hotter, what should homeowners in West Bloomfield and in surrounding areas be cautious of at their homes to avoid having fires in the summer due to the heat and the sun?
In fires is the one thing we don't think about much in Michigan, because typically the humidity is really high in Michigan, and we have that moisture that keeps kind of some of those fires away. Where out west, you see a lot more fires because of the dry, hot conditions that we're seeing here. When we get into a long stretch like this, that dry weather starts to build up or dehydrate things, if you will, to a point where they become more flammable. So we've got to be cognizant of that. We've had a handful of fires over the weekend, mostly related to fireworks and improper disposal of fireworks. That probably wouldn't have happened if we were in normal weather conditions for Michigan. The humidity would have been high enough to help prevent that. But with these dry, hot, I know it's humid out there today, but this whole week's been pretty dry. So that raises that risk for us.
Dave Deboer with us. He's the Deputy Fire Marshal for the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department. There's been a lot of reports recently, Deputy Fire Marshal, of establishments, pool parties, lake parties, and just regular gatherings with young adults blatantly ignoring social distancing measures or not wearing their face masks. We've had a spike in cases recently in the state of Michigan and in southeastern Michigan. What are your thoughts on the overcrowding issues? Are you seeing a lot of that in West Bloomfield? Is there cause for concern in your fire department and other fire departments about this going forward?
There is cause for concern, and we realize that younger people may not be affected the same way our seniors were affected. West Bloomfield was one of the most impacted communities in southeast Michigan. We had significant numbers of patients, and we still see 1 or 2 patients a day right now. It is still in our community. I think some people think it has gone away. We need to make it very clear it has not gone away. It has not left West Bloomfield. We still have patients throughout the community. So the risk is still there. It is highly contagious. And yes, as a young person, it might not take you down, but if you're carrying it, not knowing it, or out and about without a mask on, you could be spreading it to that neighbor or friend or family member that is susceptible to it and has other health risks that makes it a life-threatening issue for them. So when it comes to the masks, it's become pretty political in the last few weeks, and it really shouldn't be a political thing. This disease doesn't care what your politics are. Putting a mask on isn't a political thing. Putting a mask on is being respectful of your neighbor, which is something that we should all do here in West Bloomfield.
Dave Deboer is joining us right now on the Oakland County Megacast. He is the Deputy Fire Marshal for the West Bloomfield Fire Department, who today is our Facebook partner on the Oakland County Megacast. There's new restrictions in place now from Governor Whitmer, Dave Deboer, requiring people to wear masks whenever they are in an indoor facility, and also requiring businesses to refuse service to or entry to anybody that isn't wearing a mask. In addition, there's also regulations for people to wear masks in outdoor spaces that are crowded in West Bloomfield and in surrounding areas. Do you believe that there's going to be a continued issue with people complying to these orders, as we've seen in some capacity so far?
I think we will see it in small pockets. We still see it out in the community as we're out and about, where we see some people that should have masks on. It seems to be decreasing, though, which I think is a good thing. we're seeing more and more compliance with the masks. People are getting the message and starting to understand that, you know what, the minor inconvenience of a mask could get us all back to work, could get us back to normal sooner. And that should be all of our goals. We want to see our community thriving the way it was just a few months ago. We want to get back there as soon as we can. I think the governor feels the same way, that a little bit of sacrifice now is going to cut back on sacrifices later. So hopefully we get compliance from everybody. We can stop the spread of this disease and move on and get back to what normal was.
Dave, anything else you'd like to touch on today, or anything else that's important for our audience to know at this time?
A couple of things that are important for us is during this high heat and high humidity, one, stay very hydrated. Make sure you're drinking. If you're feeling thirsty, you're already behind the 8 ball on the thirst or the dehydration issue. So make sure you're staying hydrated. Stay away from the alcohol. We want water and sports drinks and things of that nature to keep us hydrated. And one other thing to touch on is under the state law, fireworks are done for the season right now. We're past the holiday, so there is no more fireworks allowed in the neighborhoods or in the community. So you shouldn't be hearing that stuff in the community at this point. Hopefully that's all died down, and we've had our celebration and enjoyed that, and time to move on to the next step.
Well, Dave, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Dave Deboer, Deputy Fire Marshal with the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department, with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.